Good morrow, one and all. I'm Mr. King, and in today's video, we are looking at Songs for the People by Francis E.W. Harper. So what do you need to know to understand this poem? Well, let's start with the poet. So Francis E.W. Harper was born in the 19th century in America at a time when there was a lot of slavery. Now, she was born in the northern city of Baltimore, and she was not a slave. She was born as a free woman. She received an education, but she was passionate about seeing the end of slavery. She was also born at a time which was heavily patriarchal, which means that it was a very male-dominated society. Women had very few rights. Women did not have the right to vote, and she wanted to see that change. She was a passionate suffragette, which meant she was an advocate for women's rights, and she was an advocate for women getting the right to vote. And she was a passionate abolitionist. She was someone who wanted to see the end of slavery. Now, she was a prolific writer. She was a poet, she was a lecturer, she was the first African-American woman to publish a short story. And all of these different threads come together under this single unifying belief that art, and specifically songs and music and writing, they can all serve to make the world a better place. And that's kind of the key idea of this poem, that art and songs can make the world a better place. Harper believed that art has the power to change the world, and specifically songs as a type of art. And this poem is called Songs for the People. So a helpful thought experiment is, what do songs symbolize? What can they represent? Well, songs can symbolize joy, for example, going to a concert. It's a fun thing to do. But songs can also symbolize unity. For example, think about when countries sing their national anthem as a symbol of unity and togetherness. Sometimes songs are there to help us learn. So, for example, the ABC song, which you might have learned growing up to learn your letters. Songs can also be important symbols of faith, depending on which faith communities you're aware of. You may know that different faith groups will sing songs of worship or as signs of their faith. Songs can also be symbols of unity. So think about how football teams and football clubs, they'll sing songs and chants, and some of that is about togetherness. I'm particularly thinking about the Liverpool Football Club, which sings You'll Never Walk Alone, this song which is a really powerful anthem of unity and togetherness after a really awful disaster in their club's history. And finally, songs can symbolize a desire for change, and a really appropriate example of this is some songs that were sung by slaves. And I've put on the screen a book by Matt Callahan, who compiled a list of songs that slaves would sing. And I'm just going to read you a lyric from one of them. The lyric is, "Come boys, come and go along with me. I'll take you up where colored men are free." So that was from a song called The Underground Railroad, and this song was, hoping and wanting for a time where there was no more slavery. And all of these different connotations, all of these different things that songs symbolize are really relevant in this poem, because Harper is going to write a poem about songs which can create joy and unity and which can teach. But they're also a symbol of faith in the future. They're a symbol of community, of togetherness, and they are a symbol of a desire for change, a change where there is no more pain, there is no more suffering, and there is no more injustice. So, what are the key ideas of this poem in a nutshell? I've nicked this quote from Julie Enser, which I just thought summed it up brilliantly. Harper, the poet, imagines the alchemy of poetry and song as ending war and crime, making people's hearts tender and filling the world with peace. Alchemy is just magic. So the magic of poetry the magic of poetry and song to end crime and war and make people's hearts tender, fill the world with peace. That's what this poem is imagining. And the poem describes a utopian or a perfect vision of a world where there is no more injustice. And this could be an allusion or a reference to her campaigns against racism, slavery, and sexism. This is a poem about seeing the end of conflict and using art such as songs and poetry to promote positive change. And a quick little note here for you. The poem itself uses ballad stanzas. That's when you have 4 strong beats in a line. You'll hear that in a moment when we read through the poem. But it has a varying number of unstressed syllables together with rhyming couplets. So the poem itself, as a poem, it feels like a song. It feels like a song or an anthem, desiring positive change to make the world a better place. Speaking of noises and songs, if you can hear the builders working nearby, I do apologise for the background noise, but I wanted to get this video out ASAP before the exams. This is the only time I had aside. So I'm going to plough on, and I hope the background noise isn't too distracting. Let's dive in to look at the poem and check we understand what's going on in it. So, songs for the people. Let me make songs for the people, songs for the old and young, songs to stir like a battle cry wherever they are sung. Not for the clashing of sabres, for carnage nor for strife, but songs to thrill the hearts of men with more abundant life. Let me make songs for the weary, amid life's fever and fret, till hearts shall relax their tension, and careworn brows forget. Let me sing for little children, before their footsteps stray, sweet anthems of love and duty, to float o'er love's highway. I would sing for the poor and aged, when shadows dim their sight, of the bright and restful mansions, where there shall be no night. Our world, so worn and weary, needs music pure and strong, to hush the jangle and discord of sorrow, pain, and wrong. Music to soothe all its sorrow, till war and crime shall cease, and the hearts of men grown tender girdle the world with peace. So let's just read through the poem now and check that we understand all the words in it. So let me make songs for the people, songs for the old and young, songs to stir or to motivate like a battle cry wherever they are sung. Not for the clashing of sabres. So sabres are swords. You might remember we talked about those briefly when we looked at the poem Puppety. For carnage, nor for strife. These are just 2 different adjectives which both mean chaos. So, we're not going to sing songs to motivate people to fight. We're not going to sing songs to create chaos in the same way that, soldiers might sing songs before they go into war. No. Harper is going to sing songs to thrill or excite the hearts of men with more abundant life. So she wants songs that aren't going to end life, aren't going to lead to the ending of life. She wants to sing songs that's going to excite people and lead to more abundant life, lots of high quality life. Let me make songs for the weary or the tired, amid life's fever and fret. So fret, we've come across that word before in the poem Envy. It just means worries. So, Harper wants songs for the tired, for those who are worried, those who are uncertain. And she hopes that these songs will relax their tension and careworn brows will forget their pain, their suffering. So I've glossed careworn brows rather literally as tired forehead, but try and imagine someone who is tired, maybe their forehead is sort of creased with tension and worry, and she just wants to see people just relax and be soothed by the music that she believes in the power of. Let me sing for little children before their footsteps stray. So footsteps stray is a kind of common figure of speech, which literally means like wander away. But if we're talking about being worried about people wandering away or people straying off the path, we're talking about people who maybe are making bad decisions in life, who go in the wrong direction and make poor choices. And so she wants to sing songs that will teach little children to make good choices in life. She wants sweet anthems, sweet songs of love and duty to float over life's highway. So all over someone's life, she wants songs, instructional songs to teach people the right way to live. I would sing for the poor and aged when shadows dim their sight. So I'd sing for those when they dying, or when their sight is going. And I would sing of bright and restful mansions where there shall be no night. And for me, the lines 19, 19 and 20, this is kind of like a vision of heaven. I'll sing for this hopeful vision where there will be brightness, there'll be rest, there'll be no night. Our world, so worn and weary, so battered and tired, needs music pure and strong to hush the jangle and discord, so to hush the loud and unpleasant noises of sorrow, pain and wrong. Music to soothe all its sorrow, music to calm all its sorrow, till war and crime shall cease, and the hearts of men grown tender girdle the world of peace. So cease just means stop. So she wants music to calm sorrow, to make war and crime cease or stop. And she wants hearts of men to be tender, to be gentle, and she wants the whole world to be girdled with peace. So a girdle is actually an item of clothing. So in the same way a girdle kind of surrounds a person's body, here she wants the world to be surrounded by or clothed with peace. And this is how she ends the poem, hoping and believing that songs and art can transform the world to be a calmer, better, peaceful, more hopeful place to be. So we've gone through the poem, we've checked if we've understood what all the words mean. Let's dive into some analysis. We start the poem with this phrase, let me make songs for the people. There's a really hopeful tone created by this start. And we've talked about how songs can be a symbol of hope, unity and change. So she is beginning her poem hopefully declaring, let me make a song that can change the world. And you might be able to think about songs which have made you feel emotional, which have made you feel passionate, which has maybe even made you feel a desire for change. And that's what she is making us think of here. She's making references to songs like those anti-slavery poems we talked about earlier, songs which campaigned for the end of slavery and injustice. And she is hopeful that she can make a song for the people which will end all chaos and strife. Now, if songs symbolize the power to change, to unify, to improve the world, then the repetition of the noun songs, and we'll see it throughout this poem, but the repetition of this noun emphasizes the poet's belief in the power of music to change the world. And as we move through stanza 1, we see this listing, songs for the people, songs for the old, songs for the young, and this listing shows the breadth of a number of people who can be changed by songs of hope. I mean, she means everyone. Everyone can be changed by songs of hope, and this is reinforced by the last line of stanza 1. Wherever they are sung, songs can have a powerful impact. And she uses this declarative sentence. So a declarative sentence is a statement of fact, of authority. And so here she's saying, look, I'm going to sing these songs which will stir like a battle cry wherever they are sung. There is a tone of certainty created by this declarative sentence. She's certain that songs will make the world a better place. And she ends the stanza with this end stopping, this full stop, this very confident, wherever they are sung, full stop, they will stir like a battle cry. There's a confidence in the power of music and art to change the world. Now, if we look closely at stanza 1 and stanza 2, you will notice that there is militaristic language, or language which makes us think about the military. Words like battle cry, words like clashing of sabres, words like carnage and strife. And this militaristic language, on a simple level, it kind of creates the idea that songs will motivate people to powerful action, in the same way that military songs inspire soldiers to go and fight. Yet, surprisingly, these songs don't inspire fighting. They do the opposite. They stop fighting. They just make people excited. This shows that songs are powerful. In fact, they can motivate people to action, yet also stop them from fighting. The contrast between songs like a battle cry, yet not for carnage or strife, emphasizes the peacemaking power of music. So that's why I've used the word subverted, because normally militaristic language would make us think about war and chaos. And here the poet is saying that this music, which could inspire fighting, is actually going to be doing the opposite. It's going to be stopping the fighting. And so the militaristic language is subverted or reversed to create peace rather than war. Now, as we move into stanza 3 and stanza 4, we see once again this let me. And we talked in stanza 1 that the phrase let me created a hopeful tone, and that remains true. There's still a hopeful tone. But the fact that this phrase is being repeated throughout the poem, it goes further. It reminds readers that the poet is now insistent, not just hopeful, but insistent that music can change the world. And the repetition of the phrase let me emphasizes this insistence. And I've written the word anaphora on the screen. You could say repetition, it is repetition, but because it's repetition of a phrase at the start of a line, if you want to be really technical, we could call that the technique of anaphora, which is just repetition of a phrase at the start of multiple lines of poetry. And then we've got this imagery of fever and fret and careworn brows forgetting. Stanza 3 focuses on the power of music to help those who are stressed, tired or ill. I mean, who hasn't been cheered up by some music every now and then? Now here, the alliteration of the F sound, it creates quite a frustrated or a tense tone in this context, and this exaggerates how tired or stressed some people were. Yet this frustrated tone and this imagery of tiredness and sickness is followed by the verb relax. And this imagery of relaxing and the imagery of careworn brows forgetting, it just emphasizes the calming and the transformative power of music to make the world a better place. Stanza 4 shows how music can inspire people. They can give direction and guidance. And I think this is a reference to how songs can inspire people to do good things. So for example, songs can be used to teach little children right or wrong, or think about how some adults can be motivated by some songs. I think about the Olympic and Paralympic athletes who, are partially inspired by the vision of them on the winner's podium, medals around their necks, and singing their country's national anthem. It's a really motivating and guiding image. Music can inspire and guide, and here the poet is affirming her belief that songs can guide people to better choices. Now, as we move into stanza 5, we have this contrast, the contrast between the aged in this stanza, so elderly people, and little children in the previous stanza. And as we saw earlier in the poem, there's a large number of people who could be transformed by the power of music. So the contrast between this stanza and the previous stanza, between the old and the young, reaffirms just how many people can be transformed by the power of music. And then we have some really interesting use of light and dark imagery in this stanza. And if you want to be technical again, we can use the phrase chiaroscuro, which just means light and dark imagery. So in line 18, there's a reference to shadows dimming their sight. On a simple level, this could be a reference to people losing their eyesight when they age. Or it could be a reference to people feeling depressed and in the metaphorical shadows when they get older. Yet despite feeling in the shadows, there will be no night. And the no night imagery is an image of hope and optimism. So even people who are losing their sight or who are feeling depressed can be inspired to hope through the changing and transformative power of music. As we move into the next stanza, we are reminded that there are a large number of people in the world who are worn and weary. After all, Harper was writing at a time when slavery was rife, when sexism was rife, and people were tired, they were worn and weary. And the alliteration of this W sound, world, worn, weary, I think just reinforces and emphasizes the tiredness of the narrator when she is describing people who are suffering. And then we have this oral imagery, or this sound imagery here. So the pure and strong music continues to be a symbol of hope and change. So music pure and strong can hush the jangle and discords. And this is contrasted with the imagery of jangle and discords, which symbolises the problems in the world. The poet wants positive, hopeful music to drown out the jangle and discord which represent the problems in the world. So the contrast between the hopeful music and the discordant, jangle, unpleasant music being drowned out, this contrast emphasizes how powerful the pure and strong music is, in that it has the power to change the world and make it a better place. I wish that the sound of builders could be drowned out behind, but never mind, we persevere. The poem ends with a very hopeful image that music will improve the world for the better. There's no sorrow, no war, no crime, and the world will be girdled or clothed with peace. Now, arguably, it's significant that the poet ends with this utopian or hopeful vision of the world, because she wants readers to end this poem thinking about what the world could look like. Maybe the reader of this poem will even go and work towards the world being a better place. And what better place to end a poem than with that image? So I hope you found this a helpful video. If you would like more videos for the OCR Poetry Anthology, please do check out my channel. If you'd like more videos, please do like and subscribe. Let me know what other videos you would like. Good luck if you've got exams coming up, and until next time, cheerio.